Hello, Nightshades. Welcome to your recommendation video. So for the occasion, I made this t-shirt. It was a pain, but I really like the outcome. So, all dressed up, and now we're ready for your recommendations. The first prompt for Team Nightshades is a book with a secret society, because it's obvious, right? The Nightshades are a secret society in the Nevermore Academy, so you have to read a book about a secret society. And I chose The Mystery of Black Hollow Lane for this. This is a middle grade dark academia, and I really loved it. It's one of the few dark academias I actually enjoyed. That's why it's on there. But this is about this girl. I forgot her name, but she goes to this school and she finds out her dad that she hasn't seen for a very long time was on this school as well. Turns out her dad was part of the secret society, and she finds all kind of things out, and it's really, really good. Then we move on to a purple cover. And I got The Great Chocolate Plot by Chris Callaghan. This is a fun middle grade where basically chocolate disappears. And Minka is finding it. Probably. Because it's a middle grade, you know? This is a very purple book. If you can find a book this purple, great. But also a book with just a bit of purple will work. So this is The Peculiar Toy Factory by Alex Bell, the same who wrote the Polar Bear Explorers Club. So I don't have to tell you, the writing is really good. And this is about a toy factory that's supposedly haunted and cursed. And you know what? There are teddies. Live teddies. And it's middle grade creepy. Cute creepy. So I do recommend this one. And you may use it for a purple cover. And then I felt like it needed to be in here, Gothic horror. Because a lot of the Wednesday show is based on Edgar Allan Poe, who wrote Gothic horror. The entrance to the secret society, the Nightshade, has to do with Gothic horror. It just really felt in theme. However, I'm aware it's very specific. If you really don't want to do Gothic horror, I will count Gothic horror retellings. So a modern twist on anything that would be considered Gothic horror. Or, if that's not your thing, just do Gothic or horror. This is not supposed to make you read books you hate. It is supposed to get you a tiny bit out of your comfort zone, but also to make it easier for you to, pick some books. But for Gothic horror, I have to put in my favorite as well as Wednesdays. It's Frankenstein. I love this. So this is my favorite classic. I love it so much. We all know what it is about. This is about Victor Frankenstein, who creates a monster. And we follow the monster in this story. The atmosphere in this book is so good. That's why I love it. But also a great Gothic horror is Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. Again, the atmosphere. I love Gothic horror for the atmosphere. This was great. Both were 5 stars. My absolute favorite Edgar Allan Poe is The House of Usher. So I highly recommend you to read that one, which is about a friend dying in his house, and it gets weird because it's Gothic horror. But that was so good. It's my favorite Poe, and I really feel like somebody needs to read Poe in this readathon. I am going to try read Poe myself, because I always need a reason to read Poe. I love Edgar Allan Poe, and sometimes I hate Edgar Allan Poe, or I don't get Edgar Allan Poe. He makes me think I'm stupid, but I feel like it's so appropriate. So if you're not sure on the Gothic horror front, try Edgar Allan Poe, and I highly recommend The House of Usher. Then we got to an academic setting. This is of course highly based on Dark Academia. I feel like this whole team board is based on Dark Academia because that fits the vibe of the Nightshades so well. So I got a couple of recommendations in here. Ooh, I forgot one. And they're all kind of Dark Academia. So, first up is the one truly Dark Academia book I absolutely adored. I originally gave it 4 stars because I was a bit confused, but I kept thinking about the book. And every single Dark Academia I read afterwards, I thought was not as good. So I now upped my rating to a 5-star because I fully think it deserves it, and it's Catherine House. And this is the best Dark Academia out there, and I hear no one talking about it. I don't know why. This is about a high prestige school. If you graduate here, you're set to get a high achieving, high payment job. And it's weird. They're basically doing these trans kind of meditative things every day before the day, and you need to participate. It's not an option. Yeah, there is kind of a secret society, but not really. There's a secret. There, one part of the school, a specific, I don't know how you department is doing secret things. And I'm not gonna tell you anything else because it will spoil. But I love this. What would also work is A Deadly Education by Naomi Novik. This is more fantasy based. And this is basically a couple of students that, were dropped in this building for school, as a school, with kind of sort of demons in it. And every couple of years, the students get eaten. A couple of students get eaten every year, and every year you send more down to the school where the higher sort of monsters or demons, I'm not sure what they called, are. So it gets dangerous, more dangerous every year. Until you graduate, you have to fight the highest demons. And if you get out, you're graduated and you're set for a really, really high-end magic group, basically. I really liked it. Also, one is the Mary Shelley Club by Goldie Moldavsky. This is about a group of teenagers on school. It's again a private high school, for the rich kids. And they have the Mary Shelley Club. It's a secret, and they basically do pranks. Is not the right word. They call it fear test. And they have to scare their target. And if they don't scare the target, they fail the test. You can scare everyone, but if you don't scare your target, you fail. Game. They call it a game, but it goes so far. That's why I don't want to call it a prank, because it's not. It's not a prank. But this is about a group of teenagers and how far they will push each other. And they have all these they have rules about the game. And one of them is, it's not over until everyone has their turn, even if you don't want to do it anymore. And that's, how they keep stuff going, stuff like that. But it was a fun book. And then, for books with a prophecy. Oh, I forgot the book again. I did not pay attention by picking up my books that I wrote down. Second, again, sorry. So, I got 2 books for this as well. For a book with a prophecy, I got The Crowns of Crossroad by D.E. Knight. I really like this book. If you like Harry Potter, you're gonna love this book. This is about a girl that is the chosen one, but done right. In a magical world that goes to a magical school, so it has an academic setting as well. It also has purple on the cover, so that will work. Because remember, you can triple up on books. And this is about Ivy, and Ivy has been raised, or not, she's dropped because she doesn't have any parents anymore. And she worked all her life in the flurry fields, and one day she is taken to this magical school, and she finds out she's royalty, and she has been working in the slurry fields to protect her, so they couldn't find her by her magic. So it has a prophecy about her, you know, and that's why people want her dead, basically. And another one is The School of Good and Evil by Soman Chanani. Look. My best friend bought the collector's edition for me. She's so cute. But I can't find any of the other books in the series in this collector edition, so I'm still looking for that. But this is about 2 friends. Of course, one is good, one is evil, and it's very much based on their appearance and their things. And when they get to the School of Good of Evil, they expect to be sorted in a certain way, and of course it's not gonna be that way. And there is a prophecy on these 2 girls, but they only find out later. But believe me, there is one. So you can read this, it will come. And then a book with illustrations. So, I don't want to tell you all the same books in every single recommendation video for the Nevermore Academy, but I have to mention this book. I know I mentioned it before in another video, but it's Rainbow Grey by Laura Ellen Anderson. Laura Ellen Anderson did not only write these books, she also illustrated them themselves. And these books are the cutest, and the illustrations are the best. And it's like every single page has an illustration. This prompt is made for these books. Every Laura Ellen Anderson book will count. They're all this heavily illustrated, and the illustrations are so good. So I had to mention it. This is about Rainbow Grey, or Grey in the start, and she lives in a village with all these weatherlings, and they have weather magic, except Grey. Grey doesn't have any magic. So she's kind of left out. But then she finds some magic of her own. And it's really, really cute. But this is on the lower side of middle grade. So if you're middle grade, this is probably not for you. But what also will work, if you don't want, because illustrated books are mostly middle grade, and if you don't want middle grades, I want to show, this is still middle grade, the Hat Makers, because I highly recommend it, because it's really fun. But drawings like this on a chapter heading will work just as fine. This will count. So if you have a YA or adult book that does stuff like this will also count. I picked up The Hat Maker by Thamesden Merchant because this book was really good. This is about the 4 maker families. They have the hat makers, the map makers, I believe there were shoemakers, and another clothing thing. And this is about Cordelia Hatmaker, and her father is missing. And you know, she's from the Hatmakers family, so there is the making of magical hat. There is a queer character in this, and I think it's really, really good, so I recommend it. For Plants on the Covers, I recommend one of my favorite books of ever, and it's Splintered by H.E. Howard. This is a darker Alice in Wonderland retelling. And look, it has a lot of plants in it. So it counts. And it's always good so you can recommend one of your favorites of all time. This is a darker retelling of Alice in Wonderland. If you know Alice in Wonderland, you kind of know this story, but this is set in our world, in our time, and this is about Alice, who she descends from the Alice Little, and every woman in her family has been detained in a psychiatric ward because they went insane because they could talk to bugs and stuff like that. So one day bugs are starting to talk to her, and she's freaked out because she don't want this to happen, and she kind of get up mixed in Wonderland politics. She basically falls through the hole. I fell through the rabbit hole with that series, and I binged them all because they're amazing. The audiobooks are also really good. I just really like them. And they have kind of illustrations for the chapter heading. Like so. This is a bit of a dark, mysterious book that will count as well because we're getting to that prompt. One of these books in the series has a purple cover. So I think you can fit these books in for a lot of prompts. Then on for a book with poison. Most of Agatha Christie books will work. And that's, an whole other theme. A mystery book. Just to give you something different here. Because, most of her victims die because of poison in their books. So, I'm not sure which one. I haven't read them all. But the most of them die from poison. So, any Agatha Christie will count. Also, The Lost Apothecary will count because this is about a woman in the now, in our world, in this time zone, and she's 30, she's gonna be divorced, and she don't know what to do with herself and her life, so she goes off this weekend to, kind of find herself, and she finds this bottle on the beach, and it looks really old, and she just feels a connection, and she wants to know the history, so she's going to look that up and find out what this bottle is about and what it was. And it's a bottle of the Lost Apothecary, and we kind of follow that apothecary way back. And this apothecary was by a woman. It's a secret apothecary, and other women go there to, learn how to poison their husbands and stuff like that. Also, for ailments that, no women are going to get from a male doctor because it's that time zone. But also, poison for their husbands, so it will count. And then we're looking for a book with mystical powers. Shadow School will work. One of them can see ghosts, or two of them can see ghosts, and the other one makes a goggle so she can see ghosts. And they're basically ghost hunters. So that was really good by J.A. White. The Ravens is a fantastical dark academia that I actually liked, but it's fantasy, that's why. Because this is basically a secret club for witches. So it will also count for a secret society book. And a dark academic setting, because they're on school. So again, tripling up here if you want to. The Keeper of Enchanted Rooms will work for this. I recently read it, and it's an adult kind of sort of a romance. There is romance in it, but it's basically about this house that has magical abilities, and they need to find out where these abilities are coming from, and there are people with magical abilities in it. And also the last one is Strange World Travel Agency. There are creatures with mystical powers. They travel to suitcases, so I think that will count. And that's basically the premise of this book. It's about two kids. That one of them has their own travel agency, but it's not a normal travel agency. It is stocked full with suitcases on every wall, but every suitcase has a portal to another world. And the Strangeville Travel Agency has those people in it. It's basically also a secret club who, protect these worlds and travel to all these nice mystical fantasy worlds. And I absolutely love this. It's done now. It's quartet. And unfortunately, it's done. But I really, really like it. Highly recommend it. For a book with riddles, I got Winterhouse Hotel by Ben Gutterson. This is about two kids making friends in a hotel in a winter setting. But one of them is kind of obsessed with puzzles and riddles. And it plays a huge part in this book. It's also a bit of a mystery. It's a middle grade mystery and I really liked it. But it has a fantastical element in the end. For a book with a protector, I thought this would be easier. But again, when I needed to find a book, I drew a blank. But I chose The Polar Bear Explorers Club by Alex Bell. Because Stella is so protected by Felix. Felix protects her mentally, physically. He is making sure she can do everything a boy can. Every book, every single time he, proves he's protecting her very, very much. And I love Felix. Felix is the best, so I had to get it in somewhere. So please go read this if you haven't already. It's also a polar fantasy. Then you need to kidnap a book. So that's basically looking at anyone else TBR. You can do this on the Discord. You can do this on YouTube videos. It doesn't have to be a TBR for this readathon. You could any TBR in any time zone from everyone. And if you see a book you want to read, you're gonna pick that book and read it. And that's it. So I can't really recommend you books. I will be posting my TBR video. I bet all the captains will. So you can look at those and pick a book if you want to. If you haven't already. Then you need to read your favorite series. Again, this is very personal. If there's a series you started that you really, really like, but you haven't finished yet, this is the time. Go and read the next book. Then we have high rated book on Goodreads. I could now Google, see what books come up really high on Goodreads, but I think it's more logical if you see what kind of books you really want to read and see if any of those got 4 or 5-star average rating on Goodreads. And if it does, then you can read it. It will count for this. A book with different generations. The Vanderbeekers of 141 Street will count. This is about a very huge family and they live in this small apartment building. And basically they were being kicked out by their landlord just before Christmas. And the kids are set on making the landlord change his mind. So they're trying everything so that they could stay. That's it. But it has, the kids, it has their parents in it. They talk a lot with an elder couple. So it will count. The Adventure on Train series will count because that's about a boy who goes on trains with his nephew. So there are already 2 generations and they again talk to old people, very young people, babies, everything. So that will count and I highly recommend it because this is a mystery middle grade. And like I said, this boy goes with his uncle on train adventures, and every time something happens, something gets lost, or somebody is dying, or there's sabotage, and the boy can draw really, really well, and that's how he solves crime with his uncle. And their dynamics really, really cute. So I recommend it. And the last one for this is Granny's Magic. I recently read this. This is about knitting grannies, and they have magical powers in their knitting. And it's amazing. And it's basically about this kid who lost her grandma. That was the head witch of this knitting group. And we see her parents, but we see all those friends from her grandma, and they are gonna work together, the kid and the grandmas, and it's too cute. So I highly recommend it, especially if you love yarn crafts. You're gonna love this. But no, I feel like one more, because I forgot one, and that's a dark, mysterious book. And I chose Minor Mage by T. Kingfisher because this has kind of a dark cover. It just has an armadillo on it. And Minor Mage. It doesn't say a lot, so it feels kind of mysterious. But also, T. Kingfisher has a dark writing style. She basically writes dark fairy tale-esque stories with a mystery. There's always something happening and something we need to find out. So I feel this would count for that. But I haven't read it yet, but I loved every single T. Kingfisher book. Also, I chose The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein by Kirsten White because I don't know. First of all, it has Dark Descent, which sounds dark and a tiny bit mysterious to me. Also, I know this is clothing, but it's especially made that it looks like scarves, and that's interesting, and it feels a bit mysterious to me too. I haven't read this book as well, but I'm getting the dark mysterious vibe. I feel like this is going to be a very dark story. And it's mysterious. I don't know a lot about it, so you can interpret it like that as well if you want to. But these are my recommendations for this. So that was a whole stack of recommendations. I hope some of them worked for you. If you have any more recommendations for the Nightshades, please leave them down below or in the Discord. And I'll see you in April. Bye, Nightshades!